Hello and thanks for your interest in our poster. I'm Parth Vaishnav. This poster was part of the work that my former student, Dr. Claire McKenna, whom I co-advised with my colleague Professor Karina Grondin, did as part of a PhD dissertation. The poster describes what a diverse group of study participants in Wayne and Washtenaw Counties in Michigan did after they received a comprehensive energy audit of their homes. We wanted to learn how our study participants made decisions about whether or not to implement the audit's recommendations and about how to implement them. What made it easier for them to do the things the auditor recommended? What made it hard or impossible? What steps did they take towards implementing these measures? We think this work fills an important gap in the literature. Audits and how people react to them are important because an energy audit is typically the first step in weatherization projects. There is a very large literature about how people decide whether or not to make efficiency improvements to their homes. There is less empirical work on what happens after that first step towards making those efficiency improvements, getting an audit, has been taken. What there is sees the household's decision as binary. Either they do something or they do not. Because we spent a lot of time talking to our study participants, we were able to gather a lot more nuance about what they did after they got the audit. This study is the second of a two-part study that examines how we can have a just transition to electric heating in cold climates. We recruited 51 participants as part of the study, which you can read about in the paper referred to on this slide. As part of that first study, participants received a comprehensive energy assessment of their homes. We visited them a year or so after that audit to understand what they had done with the information in the audit. One of the ways in which we contribute to the literature is by having a racially and economically diverse sample. About half our sample had an income that was below the local median. Folks on low incomes tend to have the least efficient homes, so weatherization is likely to be most helpful to them. Consequently, it is particularly important to understand how they process recommendations for weatherization. About half our participants did not retrofit. They did not actually do any changes to their house. Their reasons for not retrofitting were complex, as you can see from the quotes on the right of the poster. For example, for many, it was not a simple question of affordability. Both young and old participants worried about whether they would live in their home long enough for the investment in efficiency to pay off in lower bills. Mechanisms to make sure that efficiency improvements are reflected in the selling price of the house are key to addressing this concern. Requirements that housing sales be accompanied by information about the home's energy use and certificate programs that appraise the effect of efficiency improvements on home value could help assuage this concern. Many participants did not understand the recommendations of the audit. What is a knee wall exactly? And others did not feel that the audit addressed their concerns about their homes. For example, the summary statement of the audit refers to overall energy savings. However, a household might be concerned about the large temperature differential between different parts of their house. What was striking was that so many participants did actually get started on doing something and many stalled out. In the middle portion of the poster, you see the three pathways that people took who decided to implement some of the measures. We call those pathways DIY, do it yourself, contractor, and hybrid, which is a combination of the DIY and contractor pathways. Only a minority of those who implemented some of the recommendations relied entirely on contractors. From an equity perspective, what is a little problematic is that some participants, including those on low incomes, actually bought supplies to implement some of the measures themselves, but then realized that the job was too complex, or they simply did not have the time to do it. Our takeaway from this was that policymakers ought to realize that, particularly in low-income settings, people will want to do some of this work themselves. They should make it possible for people to get subsidies for DIY work. They should also give communities resources to develop location-specific guidance on how some of these jobs can be done. A model for this could be the way many smart thermostat manufacturers help people through installations. There are clear written and online instructions, including online videos that people can watch. If those don't work, people can get help via video call while they're doing the installation. And as a last resort, they can call a local contractor to finish the job. Another finding was that people had a lot of questions, but did not on their own follow up with the auditor to ask them. Making a follow-up call or visit part of the service of an audit might help people with this problem and help people to overcome the barrier that, simply put, the jargon in these audits represents. We also found that a lot of participants did not have the time to research contractors or did not trust the information that they found online about some of these contractor services. For basic common services, air sealing and attic insulation, for example, it would be helpful if contractors could provide information about what the service includes, the price, and the projected benefits in a standard format so that people could compare easily across service providers. The Consumer Finance Protection Bureau has done this for credit card information. We have standard label for food and drugs, and many jurisdictions have standardized templates for rental agreements. So there are a lot of examples to learn from. We hope that you found this poster and our findings interesting. We are very grateful for the sponsors who made this work possible. If you have any questions or would like to discuss this, please reach out to me at the email address below. Thank you for stopping by.